right. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time out today to join us for our webinar. Today, we'll be talking about empowering productivity in Office 365. So we'll be sharing some insider tips specifically for optimizing search. I'm Marley Long, and I head up the marketing team here at Cardiolog Analytics. And I have Agnes Molnar joining me as well, our search expert and SharePoint MVP. Thanks for joining us, Agnes.
Thank you, Marley, for inviting me, and hello, everyone. I am very excited to be here today.
Great. So we'll just talk now a little bit about some quick housekeeping. So this session is being recorded. If you'd like to share it with a colleague in the next few days, we'll be sending out the recording hopefully early next week, if not later this week. And you can also connect with us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @Cardiolog, as well as you can connect with Agnes at @MolnarAgnes, as well as @SearchExplained. And if you have any questions, we'll leave some time again towards the end of the session, and you can send your questions through the GoToWebinar panel in the questions box, and we'll try to answer any questions that you have. If we don't get to your questions, or if we don't have time, we'll take any of your questions through email as well. So in regards for today's agenda, we'll start out with a very short introduction. I'll talk a little bit about Inflock and who we are, and I'll introduce Agnes. And then Agnes will share some of her brilliant search insights with you, talking a little bit more about modern versus personalized search. Then I'll dive more into search analytics for SharePoint and Office 365 to help you understand how you can take those insights and improve your search. And again, as I mentioned, we'll make some time for Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions, you can send them throughout the presentation. So now I'll hand it off to Agnes, who will take it from here. So I'll make you a presenter, Agnes.
Perfect, thank you. So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining again. My name is Agnes Molnar. I am a founder and managing consultant of Search Explained, and we are providing search consultancy, trainings, workshops around search, around the topic of search in SharePoint and Office 365 mostly. I have been working with SharePoint and search and all the related technologies, information architecture, and everything in the last about 15, a little bit more than 15 years. And I have been a Microsoft MVP for 10 years in SharePoint, Office 365, and these days this expertise area is called Office Servers and Services. So I've been around for a while, and we at Search Explained have customers on 4 continents, and I also like speaking at events, conferences, and we also do workshops around the world. You can find us at searchexplained.com, and also we have a training center where we provide online training courses. It has a couple of online courses at the moment, but we are adding more and more on a regular basis. So today I'm going to share you some insights regarding to search in Office 365 and how to optimize that and how to get the most of it. But first of all, I really would like to show you some demonstration how it looks like and what experiences you can have in Office 365. I'm pretty sure you already know what I'm going to show you now, but what I would like to emphasize today is the wide variety of those experiences and which is rich Actually, this provide a lot of insights, this provide a lot of different views and different information, but at the same time it can be really confusing for the users. So we have to figure out how to communicate and how to empower the users to use it. So for example, on the screen at the moment, you can see my classic search center in Office 365. So if I'm searching for something like HR, I get the results. It's the classic, not really customized user experience at the moment. The only thing I have customized here, for example, I set up some synonyms. So if I'm searching for HR, I'm also finding the results for human resources, which you can do in classic search. You can also customize, the refiners, and also if I switch to a different view of the same results, you can see that this is also customized a little bit. It almost looks like a document library, but it's definitely not. It's a search-driven page. Again, it's a search results page. I have customized it heavily. So in classic search, you have the power for all those customizations and the configuration. So you can do it to provide the most benefit for your users. If I switch to, I am on the same tenant, and if I switch to the SharePoint home, you can see I get recommendations here, and everything here is personalized and based on Microsoft Graph, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But the most important thing is that this is personalized. So if you log into the very same tenant, you see different things here. If a third colleague logs in, he or she can see different things. And if I click to the search box on the top left corner, I get recommendations immediately based on who I am. Again, those that are personalized without typing anything. But if I start typing like HR, I get updated recommendations based on my query. But you can see that I can see sites, I can see files. Those are the most recent and most relevant content for me at the moment. So probably I've been working on those documents recently. I've been visiting those sites recently. But this list is not really customizable. I cannot change it. I cannot say HR stands for human resources, so show me the human resources results as well. I cannot change the refiners here. There are no refiners. Even if I click on the show more results, I can see the sites, I can see the files, and I would also see people if I had someone working for HR in this organization. But that's all. So the only thing I can filter by is the result type, and if I filter for files, obviously I can see the file results, but that's all. I cannot really do anything. I cannot customize how it looks like. I cannot modify the ranking. I cannot modify the refiners since there are no refiners. I cannot modify how the results are presented, etc., etc. You name it. So it's really powerful because it provides me personalized results, but at the same time, I don't have the option for customization. If I switch to Dev, Dev is also supported by Microsoft Graph. So if I switch to Dev on the same tenant, the logic is the same. I can see recommendations. I can see suggested content based on Microsoft Graph, based on my recent activities, and based on the context where I am at the moment. And if I search for something, I can see, again, a recommended document, which I have been working on recently. And if I click on Show All, I have a different user experience where I can see the document results. Again, the only filter would be based on result type. Since I have only documents displayed here, it doesn't make too much sense to change this filter. So again, no customization, no refinement. It's just personalized, which is really important. And there is actually one more place I want to show you. If you go to office.com these days and log in, you can see your apps, but also you can see recommended documents. So you can get back to your documents from SharePoint, from OneDrive, from all the Office 365 tenancy you are in, and also to the frequent or followed SharePoint sites, and you can get to your OneDrive as well. So it looks like we have more and more personalized, or so to speak, modern experiences. But in many cases, this is not what we want. This is not what we need. In many cases, this experience would be much better for our users, because we want to have the power, we want to have the control over this experience, how it looks like, what is displayed as a search result, what refiners we have, etc., etc. So today I really would like to show you those differences. This is how it looks like on the user interface. And as I said, it can be confusing for the users. So to help you and to help your users understand the differences between those experiences and which one should be used in which cases, first of all, we have to talk about the Microsoft Graph, because as I have already mentioned, many experiences are powered by Microsoft Graph in Office 365. So if you take a look at this graph, you can see and that, I'm sorry for my voice, I've been struggling with a serious vocal cord inflammation last week, and I'm still trying to get back. So if you think about a Microsoft Graph, it stores a lot of information about the users, about the content in your tenancy and the relationships between them, and which is a lot of information, which is a lot of rich information, and this provides a capability to display you personalized content. Because whenever I do a search in SharePoint Online or in Delve, for example, I get recommendations based on the graph. Whatever is close to me in the graph will be recommended to me. This close relationship means either I have been working with the content recently or someone who is close to me in the graph. So you can imagine it's a complex thing, but basically this is how it works. Whatever is close to you will be displayed as suggestion here, for example, in SharePoint. And this is why you would get different suggestions here, because you are represented by a different node in the Microsoft Graph. Therefore, different content is close to you, or might be close to you than close to me. And Microsoft actually provides a very good job with that, because they say search becomes personalized with all these Office 365 and Microsoft 365 offerings, and it's all about you as a user. It's about your connections, it's about your content, and it's about your relationship to other users and other content. So everything is personalized here. But once again, sometimes we need this personalization, sometimes we would need the power of customization, and obviously it would be great to have both at the same time. So how to explain and how to understand the differences between those two. So first of all, let me talk about the content for a little bit to help me you to understand how it really works. One dimension how we can categorize the content is its structure. We can have structured, semi-structured, and unstructured content. Unstructured content is, for example, personal content on OneDrive, the communities, where you don't really have too much metadata. You just put your files, you just put your text there, which is written in a human language, and you just store it somewhere. But you don't use any structure, you don't use any metadata. It's just stored, for example, in OneDrive. We have a little bit more structure, for example, on blogs and wikis. We have some kind of metadata there, like categories in case of blog posts, or we can tag them, etc., etc. And also we have a lot of really structured data like databases, research data, which has a lot of tags and metadata, which has clear governance rules. So its maintenance and governance is really, really controlled. And actually, we have our content and our SharePoint, Office 365, your network drive, wherever you store the content is a good mixture of structured, semi-structured, and unstructured content. And actually, we have something that we call search, and obviously we want to find everything structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. And actually users just expect search to work as a magic wand. They don't care about metadata, they don't care about the structure of the content. Actually, they just want to find the content. They just want to be able to use search and find the content. So when you explain search to your users, actually what you do is explain how this magic works. So sometimes I say that I am a magician as a consultant. So first of all, whenever you think about the content, whenever you think about how to store, how to organize your content, think search first. Think findability first. Usability and findability are very important for the content. You have to think about how my users will be able to find the content. And when I say think search first, you might ask modern or classic. If I want to think about the personalized, modern, new, shiny search in Office 365 or the classic search, because as you just saw, they are different, they need different approaches, and they need different way of optimizing the content. Actually, if I wanted to compare those two, like the classic search and the personalized modern search, this table summarizes everything. The classic search uses the traditional classic search index. You have full control and ownership over it. You can customize, you can configure it, you can customize the user interface, but there is no Microsoft Graph behind it. There is no support of Microsoft Graph. While the modern personalized search uses the Microsoft Graph and it provides personalized results, however, you cannot customize the user interface and you don't really have real control over it. So it's a kind of trade-off. Usually I say you have to use and you better to use both. You just have to be able to define and communicate which one to use when. So that's the big question, which one to use when, and it's a big decision and to make, and actually you need guidance and you have to provide that guidance to your users. When we talk about the content and when we talk about search, actually it's always the people, the content, and the context have to go together, and this is what has to be respected when we talk about search, respected and supported. So you have to consider who will be searching for what content in which context and how they will do this search. So if we go back to this picture from Microsoft, when they say search becomes personalized and it's all about you, the big problem is that we have so much content and so many options that it's very hard to provide a good guidance for the users. So if I get back to my pyramid of the content, the structured, semi-structured, and unstructured content, usually I recommend that for unstructured content like OneDrive or collaboration content, usually the personalized modern search is better. Why? Because since you don't have unstructured, you don't have a structure, you don't have good metadata, you don't have good tags and properties on the documents, you don't have anything that you could customize and enhance the classic search. Why? Because classic search always needs good metadata. The better metadata you have, the better classic search can be. So I recommend to use classic search for your structured content and more personalized search for your unstructured content, and vice versa. If you want to use classic search, you have to structure your content better. And again, you have to think about the people and content and the context all together. So you have to organize your content. To be able to organize the content, you have to know your content. You have to do a content inventory. When you move your content to Office 365, it's better to do a content inventory and not just moving everything from your network drive, for example. I have seen several migrations happening, just like moving the content from the network drive to Office 365 the same way, keeping all the folder structure, no metadata, just put everything to Office 365, and those organizations expect the magic happen. Unfortunately, the magic cannot happen automatically. You have to know your content, you have to know the types of your content, the properties, where your content is stored. You have to know the value of the content, who are creating the content, who are consuming the content, how they are using the content, etc., etc. So really do a content inventory, but please do not overcomplicate it. So keep it as simple as possible, but not more. So do not overcomplicate and do not oversimplify your content inventory. Just do it as much as you need to understand your content, to understand what you have, and then you will be able to decide what to do with your content. During a migration to Office 365 or even to SharePoint, you will definitely have a set of content that you should keep and freeze, in the meaning of keep as it is. For example, archive content should not be always moved to Office 365. In some cases, you can keep it where it is and leave it as it is without doing any migration if you wish. Of course, there is a set of content that you want to purge, that you want to discard, which you don't need at all. And obviously, I'm sorry, obviously there is a big set of content that you have to keep and reorganize when you move. And this reorganization will provide more and better structure, and actually this is the goal of all this reorganization. When I talk about reorganization, I mean decide how to create site collections, sites, lists and libraries, and also folders. And actually this structure helps you to add more structure to your content but also this structure will help the graph as well to understand your content more. So even if your primary goal would be to have findability in the content itself and findability in classic search, you will also have the modern and personalized search with this approach. And there are several things to do and not to do when you organize the content. For example, you always have to think about clear and easy to understand structure. Don't overcomplicate the structure, as I mentioned. Organize primary for your users, how they want to use it and how they would use it. Obviously, a transition from a network drive to Office 365 is not easy. You have to help your users, and obviously it's going to be a big change for everyone. But if you have them with the proper guidance and governance, and also you keep it as simple as possible, then you help a lot. A consistent naming convention is also important in this case. And you have to teach and you have to educate your users to do so. The next topic I wanted to discuss today is use content types and metadata. Again, the goal with content types and metadata is to improve the structure of your content. Unfortunately, many users are lazy to add metadata to the content, and that's a big problem everywhere. Users are not motivated, they are not educated how to add the right metadata to the content. They know how to tag a picture on Facebook and they get maybe hundreds of likes for a picture on Facebook, but they don't get likes in their jobs. They are not motivated. How to motivate someone to add good metadata to a content? This is always a big problem, and it's always a part of the user adoption. So, but still we have to try to do that in order to have better structure. And my recommendation would be always to use site columns as much as possible. Always use content types whenever you can, and manage metadata should be used whenever it makes sense. And definitely you have to help your users as much as possible, providing default values, providing auto tagging, providing whatever you can provide to them to help to add better metadata. So structure your content and use metadata as well, and those together will result in having a better usability and better findability experience as altogether. And usually what I say is when we talk about search, and what you can see on the user interface at the moment is search center with zero customization. And you can see even here when we have zero, nothing, no customization at all, everything is metadata. Refinement panel based on managed properties, metadata. Whatever is displayed on the results is metadata. On the hover panel, we can also see metadata. In queries and query rules, we use metadata. So metadata is everywhere in search. So if you improve metadata, if you improve your information architecture, if you add more structure to your content, you improve search, and you can improve search. Imagine if you want to customize your search center, you need that improved and enhanced content for everything. And usually I say that metadata is the soul of search. Without good metadata, you cannot have good classic search. And unfortunately, the graph won't do the magic for you. The graph actually can provide you recent and relevant and fresh content, but it cannot figure out what this content is all about. Usually I say that search is not smart. Search is actually not smart at all. It just processes your text. It, of course, obviously it uses other techniques like text analytics, machine learning. It can use artificial intelligence. It can use a lot of different things, but still search can be as good as your content. And you have to invest into the content to provide better search experience, regardless if we talk about modern personalized search or classic search. If you improve the content, your search findability of the content will be better. So usually I recommend to focus on your users and, and know your content. Those are the two key things to improve search. And if you do that, you will have a better findability and you can empower your users to use search more and the right way. So back to my content pyramid, let me show you some examples in which cases our modern search or personalized search is better and classic search is better. So going from a bottom to the top, modern search is everywhere in Dev, in SharePoint Home. So if you remember my demonstration, I went to the SharePoint Home, I went to Dev, I used modern search there, and I've got some recommendations. So you can find it everywhere in Office 365. In the middle, in the semi-structure content line, you can do project search, for example, when you are searching for any information for your project. You can do a customer background check. You might have structured, you might have unstructured data about a customer of yours. And as we move towards the top of this pyramid, you can find search-driven knowledge management portals and dashboards here, search-driven applications. You can imagine a research portal, policies, procedures. So just as you add more and more structure to your content, you can have richer and richer experiences and portals and search-driven applications. So that's what I wanted to show you today. Of course, it's a topic I could talk about much more. If you are interested, I am really happy to answer your questions towards the end of this webinar. And if you might have any questions later, just don't hesitate to drop me an email. Now I am giving it back to Marley.
Thanks so much, Agnes, for such an interesting presentation. All right, let me see. Okay. Agnes, can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Okay, great. So I'll take it from here and we'll talk a little bit more about search in relation to analytics and kind of building off the concepts that Agnes spoke about with users and content. So just a brief introduction about Interlock Cardiolog Analytics. So we've been around now for about 13 years, since 2005. We're based out of Boston, and over the past 13 years, we've been focused really on analytics designed for SharePoint and now Office 365. Our flagship solution is Cardiolog Analytics, and it's built specifically for internal platforms, including all versions of SharePoint from 2013, 2016, SharePoint Online as well. And we can also track third-party tools like Yammer, Citrion, CRM tools, and more. We also have a newly released engagement tool that really helps to close the loop between the analytics and taking action, which I'll show you guys just a little bit later during this presentation today. It's called Cardiolog Engage. And our solution is available as both an on-prem and SaaS version based on Power BI. So that's what we'll be looking at today, is our SaaS version based on Power BI. I'll show you guys some really useful, really helpful search dashboards, and then I'll walk you through some of our engagement campaigns as well. So just a little bit about our vision at Cardiolog Analytics. So our goal is to help our customers constantly improve SharePoint based on how it's being used. So there's three main pillars that we talk to our customers about and that we base our solutions on. So the first is to monitor, so it's really important to be able to track the usage within SharePoint. The second is engaging with our users, asking them what their needs are, what their pain points are, or what they didn't find when they were searching for something. And that's really important to get that feedback and engage with your users and constantly, push for more information from them in order to make the portal a more productive place. And finally, the most important pillar is to enhance. So we want to make sure that we're constantly improving SharePoint based on these pillars, and the idea is really having these actionable metrics which will allow us to constantly make the portal better for the users. So I'm going to hop now into a demonstration of Cardiolog Analytics SaaS and show you some of our really awesome search dashboards. And before I get into what we see here on these dashboards, I want to talk a little bit about the need for analytics and why we need them specifically for improving search in SharePoint. And the key here is really that you can only manage what you can measure. So only can we really know what's going on in SharePoint and define if our launch was successful and people are using it, that our adoption is increasing, is by being able to measure what's going on. And that's really the end goal. So how can we measure that deployment and analyze it? And by leveraging analytics, you can really truly find out whether your portal is performing as expected or whether it's truly providing value to your organization or give you those insights that you need in order to make improvements. And adding on to that with our focus on search, I think the most important question you can ask yourself, or an organization in general can ask yourself, is do I know how well my search engine is performing within my intranet? And if you can't answer this question with actionable metrics, your efforts to improve other things like SharePoint adoption and the overall portal could, be useless at this point. So analytics can provide you with the specific answer and of course much more. And search is really one of the most important features in an intranet, as it's often described as, the default behavior of users, which means it's the first thing that they do when they enter the portal. So again, maximizing the effectiveness of your search engine is really crucial for enhancing the overall performance of your SharePoint portal. So diving now into our usability search optimization dashboard. So this is Cardiolog's Analytics SaaS, just to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about exactly and how you can really create and analyze these reports. This is what you see here. And this is an all-encompassing SaaS solution. We also have, as I mentioned, an on-prem solution also available if this is interesting for you. Our SaaS solution is provided through Power BI, and it's hosted on Microsoft Azure servers. And Cardiolog Analytics SaaS comes with a set of pre-made reports and dashboards that we've put together in a way that we think would be most beneficial to the users. So when we designed these reports, of course, the main purpose was to provide the data, but we also really wanted to take it one step further. And we built them in a way that helps users know how they should measure their business and portal productivity goals. So for our purposes today, we're going to focus on a couple of main areas where we can really focus on our search reports and extract the information we need to be able to analyze our search schemas and queries. So this report that you see here falls under our usability category. And usability and adoption go hand in hand, but in essence, usability is really how you can improve your adoption rates. So by improving one, you actually improve the other. So if users don't like the user experience, when they simply won't use SharePoint as much. And the key here is search. If you can't find things and you're struggling, it's not a good use of their time, and this is where search reports come in and can inform you where you need to make changes in order to provide a more productive space for your users. So here you can see an overview of what people are searching for. So of course you can see here your number of searches is 8,702, just getting a large glimpse of what your searches look like. Your total number of users that you have in the portal, your average number of results, and your average search result position, as well as your result clicks out of searches. And all of these insights are really important for understanding how users navigate through the portal. For example, your result clicks out of searches. This is how you see if people can find what they're looking for. Because if they didn't click on a search result, then they couldn't find what they were looking for. So 49% of times people search for this phrase and they clicked on a result, and 50% of the time they're searching for something that they couldn't find what they're looking for. So they either had to modify the search term or try to find the information that they were looking for in other ways. So again, taking all of this helpful information that Agnes shared with us, improving your content, your search schemas, and your queries is really that missing piece, and that's how you can really understand what you need to do. Your average search result position that you can see here as well at 10.3. So that's whether users usually click on the first, second, or third position on the page. So here we can see that the average search result position is 10, which is not very good if people have to scroll to the 10th place to click on the exact item that they're looking for. And this is, of course, just an average, but that tells you something on a high level of how long, how much people have to scroll to get to what they need to see. We can also see a breakdown of our search terms, and these are search terms that have been searched for the most. So for example, we can see in our portal that our most popular search term was business data, or for example, benefits here that you can see had 945 searches. And if we click on it, we can see more information about it. So you can see how many times it was searched, and by how many users. So again, all of this information is dynamic, so it will reflect information only for this benefits search term now. So for example, if you see a lot of people are searching for a particular document, you can put it on the home page and make their life easier or save them time. So for example, if you see a lot of people searching for a specific, support document, why not leverage that and make that easier for the users to access? So for example, for our search term benefits, we can also see the result clicks out of searches, like I mentioned, was 50%. And even, oops, oh no. Sorry guys, I need to plug my computer in. I would hate for it to go off. 1 second. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me there. So as I mentioned, we were talking about our search term benefits, and the result clicks out of searches. Like I mentioned here, we can see it's around 50%, 51%. And even when users did find what they're looking for, the average search result position was around 10. So this may actually be the reason why most of the searches have not been successful, because the relevant results were lower on the page. So let's see what were the actual search results that people did click on for this particular search phrase. So I'm going to transition now to our usability search results report. So you can see here the results that people clicked on, and the number of clicks to see how popular it was, and also the search result position for that specific result. So here we can see, the first 5 were the most popular results. So we see benefits, we see holidays, business data, wiki, and of course we have more that we can expand. And we can also click on a search result. So for example, let's click on holidays. So for example, if you published an article in your intranet, you can click on it and you can see how your users got there. So you can see here your number of search results and the average of click search results positions for very specific URLs. So you can see how your users got there and through which keywords specifically, as well as a breakdown by team and users as well. So you can of course drill down. You can drill down into a very specific team. So you can see that 3 people, let's scroll back up for one moment. So 79 people on the business development team searched for benefits, for example, and you can actually drill down within the business development team to see how many searches were made by very specific users as well. So for example, Linda only had 1 search, same with Ken had 2 searches, and so forth. So you can really drill down into that information and get that information you need all the way to the user level. So again, these are just 2 search results dashboards that we offer. However, we do have many other dashboards relating more to adoption, relating to collaboration and engagement, as well as kind of overview dashboard where you can measure your adoption, your content, and your search all in one place. And again, as I mentioned before, you can filter this by your tree structure within SharePoint. So if you'd like to drill down onto very specific items within the portal, you can do that as well as drilling down by your teams and your specific users as well. And this data is pulled through a combination of JavaScript tracking as well as API pulling through user groups and profiles. So I'll transition now just to show you the last piece of my presentation today, which is Cardiolog Engage. So this is a new solution that we're offering, and it's really exciting. I think it's a great tool for really completing that missing piece of the puzzle when we talk about, okay, so we have all of these insights, we have all this data, the analytics give us really great information and they allow us to make data-driven decisions, but it's easier said than done. So sometimes we need a tool to actually allow us to automate all of these actions that we then need to go and take within the portal. So I just want to show you how easy it is that you can do this. You can launch campaigns within the portal, you can target your users, and you can take these insights that you've seen and put them into action and really engage with your users in unique and creative ways. So for example, you can ask your users if they found what they're looking for on a particular site or even across the portal in general. And you can simply click, so we can click Start a New Campaign here. So we'll get taken to a prompt. These are some of our pre-made prompts. So what is your campaign's goal? So for example, we can notify people about a change on a page that was made. We can tell people about new features. We can ask people if they found what they're looking for. So these are all really great feedback methodologies to understand, asking if a page was useful, asking for feedback on 404 pages, and even for content that they'd like to see in the portal, as well as pushing people to complete a specific goal. So I think for our purposes today, we can use ask people if they found what they're looking for. Here we can select our audience. So you can see we have our newbies, who are people who didn't visit any page for more than a month. We have our inactive people. And again, the information is dynamic, so here the number will actually show you how many inactive users you have, so 5.3K, which is quite a large number, but thankfully this is our demo data. So people who did not perform an action ever, you have your engaged users, you can target everyone, of course, and you can segment by very specific groups. So your groupies, so an existing segment in Cardiolog Analytics, so users who belong or do not belong to a specific group. And you can create your own groups as well. So let's target maybe everyone for our purposes today. Although you can easily target a group. So for example, if a site owner is trying to optimize their site, then they can target anyone that's within their specific group. Then you can pick a channel. So we have a wide variety of channels. We have our phone call, text message, desktop notification, mobile notification, smart distributor, email. But I think what is most interesting here is our in-app message, where we can target users within the portal. So let's go ahead and select a pop-up, or maybe even we can do a header, we can do a badge, a tooltip, or even a hotspot. But let's go for the pop-up. So again, now we can simply ask, we can label this in any way that we'd like, and we can ask, did you find what you're looking for, and add any other information we'd like to see. Let us know how we can do better. Of course, we can customize this message with any nice colors that we'd like. We can also redirect people from this link, as well as placing any kind of call to action, a button, for example, or we can even do a thumbs up or a thumbs down, so they can simply just answer if they found what they were looking for or not. And then we can select our trigger. So we can select to trigger this immediately. We can schedule this on a date and time. We can set up a trigger to run based on users' behavior. So for example, if we see that a user is sitting on a page viewing a page for, I don't know, more than, let's say, 60 seconds, we can probably infer that they're not finding the information that they need. So then we can actually send them an in-app pop-up and ask them, what kind of information do you need? What would you like to see here? And really optimize that content and help improve that search as well. And of course, then we can simply launch our campaign. And there we go. We've successfully launched our Cardiolog Engage campaign. So once in place, it's just a really great way to easily communicate any kind of announcements, alerts, ads, links, all within minutes, and really, really useful for collecting information from users on how their experience is and what challenges and roadblocks that they're facing. So that's just a quick example of some of the metrics and engagement tools that we provide here. And we have a few minutes just towards the end of our time today. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to add them into the chat box now, and we'll try to answer as many questions that you have. Okay, so I see a question for you, Agnes. So Matthew is asking, users use SharePoint as a file share with folders, no metadata, default content types. Any hope?
Well, my most brutal idea would be to do an in-place content migration when you consider just migrating from SharePoint to SharePoint and clean up your information architecture. And it would be as complex as a real migration project, I know, and I understand, so sometimes it doesn't work. If you are not ready to do that, or your users are not ready to do that yet, I usually suggest to take some baby steps. So for example, you said you use folders. Maybe you can add some metadata fields which can have default values based on where the content is located in which folder. And for example, whenever someone uploads a new document into the invoices folder, that property, that metadata could have a value for invoice. And then you can use this metadata on search. You can filter for it. You can use it as refiner, etc., etc. And you can show them, hey, look, this is what we have. I just talked to an organization earlier, literally today, and they are in the middle of a content migration process from network drives to Office 365 SharePoint Online. And they are struggling with kind of the same thing. So they did very nice new information architecture, good metadata, etc., etc. Very nice, beautiful search on SharePoint Online, but their users don't understand why it's good for them. So just in this case, my recommendation would be just take a small but really relevant set of documents, upload it or re-upload to the new information architecture, add metadata as good as you can, just to be able to showcase. Because if you show them a demo environment, if you show them some other content, most users just don't get it, how they could benefit from it. So just show them the benefits on their own data, on their own content. Copy the content to a new place, to a new site collection, or to a new web application. I'm not sure if you are on-prem or in the cloud, but just copy it to somewhere where you can add metadata, good metadata, and then create a new search experience based on that good metadata and show them, hey, this is what you could have if you did this for the whole body of your content. And then you can move forward step by step.
Thanks, Agnes. I see a few questions just in general about pricing for Cardiolog Engage as well as for Cardiolog Analytics SaaS. So we'll get back to you via email for any of your product-related questions. And for Cardiolog Analytics SaaS, yes, the cost is per user. And I just wanted to also mention anyone who would like can access our website, www.intlock.com, and we'd be happy to present a more tailored demonstration for you and your team of any of our products. You can fill out a form on our website as well as a trial, and you can join our readers at blog.intlock.com as well as contacting us at info@intlock.com. You can also contact Agnes, as Agnes mentioned earlier, Agnes Molnar at Search Explained and searchexplained.com as well as academy.searchexplained.com. And it looks like that's about all the time we have left for today. If anyone has any more questions, we'll get back to you via email as well. So feel free to email us, be in touch. And I want to say thanks again. Thanks so much, Agnes, for joining us and sharing your wonderful insights and expertise. I know I learned a lot of new things about search. So it was definitely an interesting presentation. And thanks again.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone who joined us today.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.